Brad,
Yes.
how were your injuries, after the weekend?
Obviously, Keelan's the big one with a pretty nasty knee injury. That's it's going to take some time out of the game for him to get better. So, really disappointing for the kid himself, and we hope all his rehabilitation goes well for him.
Had you been seeing signs, of Kieran really settling at this level and really progressing in his game?
Yeah, 100%. I thought he had a breakthrough year season last season. I think this season he's had a couple of little setbacks with his injury. Obviously, this one's a serious one, but I think he's shown enough in the time that I've been at the club to know that he's going to be a professional time for a big chunk of his career, and I think he's got an ability to learn the game. He's developing. Over time, he's going to become a much more mature player, and so I think this is just a little bump in the road for him, and all players have to go through these setbacks at times, and it'll be a learning curve for him as well.
What did you think of the incident that led to the injury?
Yeah, my thoughts on it is that there was no intent in the challenge. Is probably a little bit reckless, but I can see from Hewitt's perspective that the ball was a 50-50, and from my perspective he was trying to kick the ball out into touch. It was just unfortunate for Keelan that he got his leg caught in the way it did and had an injury, but I don't think there was any intent by the opposition winger.
Digressing a bit, do you feel a corner's been turned as far as the team goes?
I think we definitely, we've played well in patches this season. The second 40 against Munster, I thought we played really well. The Scarlets game was a big game for us. The two European Champions Cup games were massive, and I thought we performed really well there. So, the performances over especially the last 3 weeks, I think have been at a really high standard. We just haven't had the result that we so desperately needed, and it was nice to get over the line on Friday night. So I think answering your question, I think we're definitely just looking to keep pushing on and to keep this sort of this level of performance going within our competition, and hopefully we can get some more wins on the board.
What have you learned about the players during this spell?
That they're extremely hardworking. They're extremely loyal to each other. They're extremely proud to be an Osprey, and that losing games hurts them as much as it does us, and as well as the supporters. And they will do everything in their power out on the training field to try and turn things around, and which I believe they have over the last 3 to 4 weeks.
With Sam Davis and Tom Haverfield, neither of them is in the Wales squad, but both of them, I feel like, have been playing particularly well of late.
Yeah, Sam's had he's had a stop-start sort of time of it this season. So I think Sam now coming into the number 10 shirt, he can have an extended period of time in probably his favoured position. I think Haverfield, for me, has been a standout over the last since I've been at the region for the last 16 months. He's outstanding. He's diligent. He works hard. I think he's a top 9, and he's a guy that always wants to develop his game. So I'm surprised he didn't get a call up in the summer tour, but that's not going to stop him trying to become the best player he can possibly be, and that's good for Ospreys rugby.
As a defence coach, you must have been pleased. I think it was against Saracens. He had 2 or 3 try-saving tackles.
I thought he was outstanding on the night against Saracens, but I think again, I don't think you see Tom Haverfield in particular have a bad defensive performance. I thought his desire against Saracens, as with the other 22 players that took the field, they all showed at the top end of sport against one of the top teams in European rugby, that when we get our game right and when we hit the right intensity levels and the right emotional levels, and we match that with some physicality, we can match it with the best. And it was a fantastic performance. But the important thing is now that we're able to push on in our competition, and that's going to start with obviously Edinburgh.
And how are you expecting Sam Cross to handle the demands, being in the Wales squad?
I think that's probably one for the individual himself, because Sam's been training with us for a few months now. He got his shot unexpectedly in the Saracens game, and then he got his call up. So how the Wales coaches handle him will be really interesting. He seems a pretty level-headed sort of player to me. He's got a real competitive streak to him, and I'm sure he's going to enjoy every experience up there.
This next month, how important is it for the Ospreys to sort of keep building on the momentum that you put together?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge for a number of reasons. The first one is where we are in the log at the moment. It was great to get the win against the Dragons last Friday night, because I think that showed that our performances, whilst we've been performing really well and not getting a result, it was nice to get the result at the end of all our work and all our endeavour. So that's important for us, but we're under no illusions, playing against a Richard Cockerell side, that they're going to be physical away from home, and we need to, if one of our little Achilles heel at the moment is our away form, so it'd be nice to go on the road with this group of players and really deliver.
How do you assess that?
Physical, well coached. I think culturally he's gone in there. Cockerell, I'm talking about, he's gone in there and challenged their mindset. I think he's a fantastic coach. Coaching against him for a number of years when he was at Leicester and I was at Bath and Wasps. The forward pack are going to be abrasive. He's always got them well drilled, and they're not going to get undone because of a lack of work rate. So we know it's going to be a really, really big challenge, and they're coming off the back of a really good away win at Treviso, which is a win that we couldn't get on the road. So they're a good team, and we're going to have to be right on the money with this group of players that are going to take the field representing the Ospreys.
Slightly off point, but as an Australian, do you think Wales have a chance against them this often?
Yeah, I do. I don't think. I think, if I'm perfectly honest, I think catching Australia in the first game of these internationals isn't probably the ideal scenario, because especially from a defensive mindset, it doesn't give Sean a lot of time with this squad of players to get massively up to speed against a side that's been playing some pretty competitive rugby over the last 4 to 6 weeks. So I think they're behind the eight ball, especially without the ball in terms of their preparation time, and historically they get better as the games go on in this international period. So it'll be a really, really tough test. In saying that, Australia have left a few of their strike players at home. Israel Folau is a big name that's missing from them, but I think if Wales can get their defence on point, and I think they can really, really stress Australia with the physicality of their game.
As a defence coach, when you're preparing to face not just Australia, but an attack like that, with the likes of Kirky Beale, Bernard Foley, how do you prepare for guys that can just cut defences to shreds off the cuff? Yeah,
you've got to be organised. You've all got to be on the same page on what you want to achieve, and that's the difficulty I think that Sean faces in just having this really short period of time to prepare against one of the teams that's really coming into form at the moment. I suppose the key thing for me is how they're able to transition from being in attack or having the ball to then that transition period when it could be turnover ball or kick chase type, for example. So I think that's when Australia can really hurt you. I think if Wales can get them to a set piece based game and control the tempo of the game in that way, I think they're more than in with a shout to get the win. But it's going to be a huge test, and for them, in particular with Australia coming off the back of a lot more football than Wales have played.
You always take for granted that, well, both Australia and New Zealand are the best attacks in the world. Do you think, not just in Wales, but in the Northern Hemisphere in general, we're a bit behind the times in terms of how we develop players? Do you think the reason they are at their best is because maybe they do more skill training at a younger age?
Honestly, from being a coach over here and spent the majority of my time in the Northern Hemisphere, I just don't buy into that. I think there's some other things that have a massive influence on how you develop your skill set especially as a child growing up, and climate is a massive one of that. Do you know what I mean? Playing winter rugby doesn't really always not at the top end where the pitches are really good, but in grassroots rugby where the kids are 8 and 9 and they're training at 7 at night and it's in the dark and it's chucking down in rain in winter, it doesn't really allude itself to moving the ball at speed. So I know as a coach that every club I've worked at, we've done a hell of a lot of skills work. I think the conditions that a child grows up in can have a massive impact on how they develop, and I think that's the advantage just geographically that the Southern Hemisphere sides have in their back pocket.
And one, Mark obviously touched on Sam Cross, but Owen Watkins in the squad, hopefully win his first cap. How impressed have you been with him since we've been there?
I think Owen's done, especially in the Champions Cup games, he's showed what he can do ball in hand. I think there's a terrific amount of improvement still to come with Owen with his defensive game. I really hope that he goes up there and enjoys the experience, and if he does get a cap, he makes the most of it. But I think he just being around those top end players day in, day out, I think as long as he gets looked after up there, I think it will be a really good experience for the player, and we can get a player coming back to us that's possibly been training and had that flavour of international rugby, and he comes back in. So he's got a lot of developing still to do, Owen, and I think it's too soon to say that he's where he needs to be. But I think this will be a really great learning curve for him.